versus left is right versus wrong. Call Mark at 877-381-3811.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, it starts with individual sovereignty, unalienable rights, God-given unalienable rights. Each and every one of us. We're precious. You're precious. And then a civil society, where we as individuals, we learn how to get along with each other. Ethically, morally, justly. And we did this in little communities. And in our case, these communities eventually became colonies. Colonies eventually self-identified as states. The point is, and I've tried to explain this when John McCain and some of these other knuckleheads go off on their democracy movements and the Arab Spring and so forth, if you don't have a functioning civil society, you cannot have a representative democracy. I mean, you can have one in name, but you can't have one in substance, because the pillars don't exist. The recognition of, nurturing of, embracing of unalienable rights doesn't exist. Respect for the individual and the individual's value and free will doesn't exist. It's just totalitarianism in a different form. And you can have totalitarianism in the form of a legislature. Happens all the time. So I was explaining the Romney position as he presented it in 2002 at the Olympics as him talking about society. What occurs in our society? Support from family and churches and community groups, local governments, that sort of thing. And now, if you look at liberty and tyranny, I contrast it with the modern liberal. The modern liberal believes in the supremacy of the state. This is Obama. Rejecting the principles of the Declaration and the order of the civil society in whole or part. And for the modern liberal, the individual's imperfection and personal pursuits impede the objective of a utopian state. In this, modern liberalism promotes what French historian Alexis de Tocqueville described as a soft tyranny, which becomes increasingly more oppressive, potentially leading to a hard tyranny, that is, some form of totalitarianism. As the word liberal is in its classical meaning the opposite of authoritarian, it's more accurate, therefore, to characterize the modern liberal as a statist. This is from Chapter 1 of Liberty and Tyranny. And you can see the influence this book has had in modern society with the use of the word statist and some of these other arguments. But I'm reminding you of them to give context to what Romney said and what Obama has said. They are completely different. And we have to accept that the statists, like Obama, do not share our passion for liberty and all the good that flows from it. They don't acknowledge the tremendous benefits to society from the individual pursuits of tens of millions of others. The statists reject the founder's idea of the dignity of the individual who can flourish through ordered liberty, for one rooted in unpredictability, irrationality, and ultimately tyranny. That's what you heard from Obama. And on page 17 of Liberty and Tyranny, there's one sentence that tells you pretty much everything you need to know about Obama. And he uttered it during his Wesleyan University graduating class speech 2008 during his campaign. And it's this sentence. And you may remember it when I tell you it. Our individual salvation depends on collective salvation, quote unquote. Those words could have been uttered by any despot. Our individual salvation depends on collective salvation. But salvation is not governments to give. It's not a grant to mankind from mankind. Under the wrong conditions and in the wrong hands, this deviant view is a powerful tool against humanity. The difficulty, if not impossibility, is in containing the soft tyranny so it doesn't metastasize into a more absolute tyranny. Since the diminished and then vanquished civil society is the sole antidote. I'm not trying to get heavy, but there is a philosophy behind what Obama is saying and doing, and there's a philosophy behind our belief system and principles too, ladies and gentlemen. When you say, athletes, you've done a great job, but you also need to thank your family and your coaches and your community for creating the venues. That's one thing. That's an acknowledgement of human existence, of human interactions, of a healthy civil society versus you think your success is because you're smarter than somebody or you work harder than somebody? Who builds the bridges? Didn't you have a teacher? Who builds the roads? Who builds the bridges and roads? Well, of course we do. We fund it. But that's not the point. That's not the point at all. See, folks, we have a constitution not because the government is supposed to give us rights, to protect our rights. We have a constitution not because we need an all-powerful government with a handful of masterminds to dictate our lifestyle to us, but because we needed to have a better ordered government to nurture our individual sovereignty and our private property rights and so forth. In other words, the Constitution exists to embrace our heritage, to embrace the Declaration, to embrace our God-given rights as individuals. It doesn't exist to empower politicians and bureaucrats to tell us what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. There were bridges and roads since the earliest of times. And as I said yesterday and last week, there are bridges and roads in the most genocidal, Hitlerian regimes on the face of the earth. In our country, we have bridges and roads where people can use them, but if they don't get up off their asses every day and work or try to work, they're not going to be successful, no matter how many highways are outside of their house. What Obama rejects is our history. What he rejects is our heritage. We are a great society because we respect humanity, individual free will, individual sovereignty, the value of the human being. That's why we're a great society. All of those that don't are in essence gulags of one form or another. The first paragraph in Ameritopia. Because I decided to take liberty and tyranny. I'm not hawking these books. You don't have to buy anything. I'm telling you what's in it. In the first paragraph of Ameritopia, I say tyranny broadly defined is the use of power to dehumanize the individual and delegitimize his nature. That's the first sentence. So they have to attack successful individuals, independent individuals. I'm not talking about the rich. I'm talking about anybody who is motivated to succeed, to become something in life, to make something of their life. Anybody who wants to take care of their family, to raise a family. You are under attack.